Marcus Tate, a black man in a crisp suit, stands frozen beside his flipped silver sedan, hands raised high as two white cops scream at him, guns aimed, their flashlights searing his eyes against the endless darkness of the Texas desert night. Blood drips from his temple where a baton split his skin just moments before. Yet even now, even bleeding and broken beneath the vast canopy of stars 40 miles west of El Paso, he cuts through their yells with a voice carved from 20 years of facing down men far more dangerous than these. "You're digging your own graves!" Officer Victor Hensley spits a vile slur, cocking his pistol while his partner wavers, uncertainty flickering behind his eyes. Marcus smirks, the expression cutting through the pain. "You have no idea who I am." As headlights flare in the distance, hinting at salvation or doom, the desert holds its breath. 12 hours ago, this man was just driving home, an FBI director heading back from a routine meeting, dreaming of a weekend barbecue with his family, but this night will reshape his future forever. What ignited this chaos? What could possibly turn a simple drive through the Texas desert into a fight for survival against the very people sworn to protect and serve? Before we go deeper into this story, take a second and hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and let us know where you're watching from. I'm curious to know how far these stories travel. Let me take you back 12 hours to the moment before everything changed. The sun had dipped below the horizon 20 minutes earlier, leaving a faint orange smear across distant mesas. Marcus Tate sat behind the wheel of his silver sedan, slicing through the outskirts of El Paso like a man who had earned a moment of peace. Highway 80 stretched ahead, a lonely ribbon of asphalt flanked by creosote bushes and prickly pear cacti. The kind of landscape forgotten by everything but the vultures circling. Above, riding thermals still warm from a day that had hit 97 degrees. He had the stereo dialed to a jazz station, some old Coltrane number crackling through the speakers as he kept it steady at 55 miles per hour, right on the legal limit, because Marcus Tate did not take chances, not with the road, and not with a world always waiting for him to slip up. At 43, he stood 6'2", broad-shouldered, with a voice that could silence a room of hardened criminals. Tonight, though, he was just a man craving home after months of 16-hour days, dismantling a cartel smuggling ring that stretched from Juarez to the Gulf Coast. He was picturing it already. A weekend off, his first in 6 months, firing up the grill on his back porch in Houston, searing a ribeye to medium rare, cracking open a cold beer while the stars popped out over the pines. 20 years in the FBI, climbing from a beat cop in Atlanta to director of the Houston branch. A black man who had stared down mob bosses and senators alike, and come out on top every single time. He knew the drill, hands at 10 and 2, turn signals clicking with military precision. Everything by the book. Because he had learned, since he was 16, that out here, not a mile passed without someone assuming he was trouble. Just for breathing while black, he was alone on that highway, or so he thought, until a flash of red and blue light stabbed through his rearview mirror, sharp and silent. No siren, just that pulsing glow that hit him like a punch to the gut. He knew this was not about a busted headlight, not when he had been clocking 55 on the nose for an hour. "Not again," he muttered, a bitter echo of the 5 other stops he had endured in the last year, all starting with that same sinking feeling that no badge, no title, no 20 years of service could shield him from what was coming. Marcus eased onto the gravel shoulder, cutting the engine. As the desert silence pressed in thick, he adjusted his tie and touched the FBI badge in his jacket pocket, cold reassurance he had carried since day one, because out here, dignity and proof were the only armor he had. Officer Victor Hensley came into view, badge glinting under a sweat-stained Stetson, lean and wiry, maybe 40, with a sunburned neck and a sneer that did not try to hide the contempt behind his pale blue eyes. A swagger that screamed small-town tyrant. He did not bother with a polite tap on the window or a flashlight sweep like protocol demanded. He just planted his boots 2 feet from Marcus's door and barked, "License and registration, boy!" His voice was a grinding drawl that landed like a slap, dripping with venom. He did not even glance inside to see who he was talking to, like Marcus was already guilty of something just for daring to drive this road at dusk. Marcus kept his tone even, years of training locking the anger behind a wall of calm. "Can you tell me why you pulled me over, officer?" It was a fair question. One he had asked too many times before, one the law said he was entitled to have answered, but Hensley did not bite. He just leaned closer, his shadow spilling across the open window, his breath sour with chewing tobacco as he snapped, "You people always think you're above the law, don't you?" Then he slammed his fist down on the sedan's hood. The metal buckled with a sharp, resounding clang that echoed across the empty highway like a gunshot. A dent the size of a grapefruit bloomed under his knuckles, jagged and ugly, a mark that was as much about claiming Marcus as it was about ruining his car. Marcus's jaw clenched tight, his fingers curling around the steering wheel until his knuckles paled. But he did not flinch, not yet, because he had seen this script play out before, written in the blood and bruises of men like him long before he was born, and he knew Hensley was not here for traffic violations. Not with that word people hanging in the air like a lit fuse, not with that sneer promising something far uglier than a fine. The sky darkened another shade, the first stars piercing the velvet black above, and Marcus felt it in his bones. This was not just another stop to shrug off. This was the spark that was about to set his whole damn world on fire. Marcus sat rigid in his sedan as Hensley loomed outside, fist hovering over the fresh dent in the hood. The air was thick with 90-degree heat, a dry, suffocating weight. His hands gripped the steering wheel, but his hazel eyes locked onto Hensley's sneer with a calm forged from 20 years in the FBI. A calm that had held him steady through interrogations with killers, though none had ever felt as personal as this. Hensley's "boy" and "you people" echoed in Marcus's skull. 5 stops in the last 12 months, countless more since he was a teenager, all starting with that same assumption. That he was less than the badge he carried. Marcus reached slowly for his wallet, deliberate, hands visible. "I'm a federal officer," he said, voice steady as steel. "FBI, check the badge in my glove box." Hensley did not even glance at the license as he snatched it and flicked it into the dirt. "FBI, sure, and I'm the governor. Nice try, boy." Then he yanked the door open. "Out, now!" Marcus stepped out, slow and deliberate, hands raised. His 6'2" frame towered over Hensley's wiry build, but the cop did not back off. He shoved Marcus hard against the car. "You don't belong on my road. Never did." Before Marcus could respond, headlights flared, a second cruiser rolling up fast. Officer Pete Rollins climbed out, stocky with a buzz cut and a matching smirk. "What's this one, Vic?" "Resisting," Hensley lied. "Thinks he's some big shot Fed." Marcus opened his mouth to protest, but Hensley grabbed his wrist, twisting it behind his back, slamming. On cuffs so tight steel bit into skin, drawing blood, Hensley leaned in close. "This is just the start. You're going to wish you'd stayed off my turf." The cuffs clicked shut, and Marcus felt the weight, not just the metal, but the hate, the system that let men like Hensley wield it unchecked. If you were in Marcus Tate's shoes right now, cuffed by the very people meant to protect you, your credentials dismissed like trash, what would you do? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Marcus sat hunched in the back of Hensley's cruiser as the cuffs bit deeper into his wrists. Blood crusted over, staining his white shirt cuffs crimson. Rollins rode shotgun, chuckling at Hensley's crude jokes about teaching this one a lesson. But Marcus kept his eyes fixed on the rearview mirror, catching every twitch of Hensley's sneer. His right hand brushed the concealed earpiece he had kept since his undercover days. A tiny black bud wired into his phone's secure line. He shifted his weight until his fingers nudged it into place. Hensley was too busy spitting tobacco to notice. Marcus pressed his thumb against the earpiece, whispering, "Deputy Director Hayes, it's Tate, Highway 80, El Paso outskirts, detained illegally. I need backup, now." Hayes's voice crackled back. "Coordinates locked. Choppers 20 minutes out. Hang tight." 20 minutes later, as Hensley bragged about showing this Fed who's boss, a low thrum built in the distance, rotor blades slicing the night sky. An FBI helicopter swooped low, its spotlight pinning the cruiser in a blinding white circle. Hensley slammed the brakes. "What the hell?" a voice boomed over the loudspeaker. "FBI, release the detainee immediately." Hensley's bravado cracked, his sunburned face paled as he scrambled to uncuff Marcus, hands shaking. "Misunderstanding, sir, just a mix-up." The cuffs snapped off. Marcus stepped out, brushing gravel from his suit. He was free. He drove off toward Houston, the chopper shadowing him for protection. But back at the cruiser, Hensley was not licking wounds. He was on the radio. "Get this to the precinct. Edit the dash cam. Make it look like he swung first." Within an hour, a grainy video hit the internet, 30 seconds of chopped footage showing Marcus stepping out of his car, edited to look like he was lunging at Hensley. Audio dubbed with a fake shout, "I'll kill you, pig." The caption read, "FBI thug harasses honest cop. Who's the real criminal?" By midnight, it was viral. 100,000 views. Comments flooded with racist bile. Marcus pulled into a gas station 50 miles from home and checked his phone. His stomach dropped as he played the clip, the distorted version of himself staring back. His hands trembled, not with fear but with fury, because Hensley was not just a thug, he was a player, and this smear was turning his escape into a trap. Marcus Tate gripped the steering wheel of his silver sedan, the desert night swallowing the gas station's flickering neon glow in his rearview mirror as he pulled back onto Highway 80. The engine hummed steady at 70 miles per hour. He was 50 miles from Houston now. The dented hood from Hensley's fist cast a jagged shadow under the dashboard lights. His white shirt was still stained with blood from the cuffs that had bit into his wrists an hour ago. A dull ache pulsed in his jaw where the baton had landed back on that desolate stretch 40 miles west of El Paso. Inside the car, the AC blasted against his face, drying the sweat that had beaded on his forehead since he saw that doctored video. 30 seconds of lies looping on his phone, that fake shout dubbed over grainy dashcam footage, turning his lawful defiance into a racist caricature that had already racked up 100,000 views. The comments were a venomous flood of FBI thug and worse, words he had heard before, but never with his own face attached. His 6'2" frame slumped slightly from exhaustion after months of cartel busts, and now this. His hazel eyes flicked to the road, then the mirrors, a habit from 20 years in the FBI, because even with the chopper escort gone and Hensley's cruiser left in the dust, he knew this was not over. Not when a man like that could twist the truth into a noose with a radio call and a few keystrokes. He was 200 miles from where it started. The stars a faint scatter above the endless black of the plains when he spotted them, 3 sets of taillights creeping up behind, too close, too synchronized. Their glow bounced off the asphalt like predators pacing a kill. Marcus adjusted his grip, easing off the gas to 60, testing them. The lights did not waver, they closed in, his gut twisted. That old instinct flaring, the one that had kept him alive through ambushes and stakeouts gone sideways. The lead vehicle surged forward, a jacked-up pickup with mud-caked tires and a Confederate flag flapping from its bed. Its headlights blinded him as it swerved to his left. 2 more flanked him, one on the right, one behind, boxing him in as the road narrowed over a rickety bridge spanning a dry riverbed 30 feet below. Its wooden planks rattled under the sedan's weight. Marcus scanned for an out, but there was none. The pickups tightened their grip, engines roaring. He caught a glimpse of shadowed faces through tinted windows, white men with hard eyes and harder grins, one clutching a baseball bat that glinted in the glare. He floored it, pushing 80. The sedan lurched as he tried to break free, but the lead truck cut him off, forcing him to brake hard. Then a brick rocketed through his windshield. Glass exploded inward like shrapnel, a jagged shard slicing his cheek as it embedded in the passenger seat. Blood welled hot and fast down his neck, staining his tie crimson. The impact jarred him, the wheel jerking in his hands, and a voice bellowed from the truck, roaring and hateful, "Get out, you black bastard!" The words hit harder than the brick, a slap of pure malice that echoed Hensley's sneer from hours ago. Marcus swerved, tires screaming, the sedan fishtailing as he fought to keep it on the bridge. The drop loomed right, a sheer plunge into darkness, and he yanked the wheel left, scraping the guardrail with a shriek of metal on metal. Sparks flew as he narrowly avoided tumbling over the edge. His heart slammed against his ribs, adrenaline flooding every nerve. He was trained for this, had survived worse. But this was not a cartel hit. This was personal, a mob spurred by that video, by Hensley's poison seeping into the cracks of a town already primed to hate him. The trucks pressed closer. One rammed his rear bumper, the jolt snapping his head back. He floored it again, pushing 90, the engine whining as he broke through the gauntlet. The bridge's end rushed up in a blur of headlights and dust. He was clear, tires hitting solid asphalt, the pickups lagging as he hit 100, the speedometer trembling. But then a crackle cut through the chaos. A CB radio spitting static from the lead truck, and Hensley's voice rasped out loud and clear, "Finish him for me!" A command that chilled Marcus to the bone, because this was not random. This was Hensley's next move, a hit squad unleashed to bury him where no chopper could swoop in to save him. The trucks peeled off, their taillights fading as Marcus raced toward Houston. Blood dripped onto his lap, glass crunched under his shoes. He was alive, barely, his hands shaking on the wheel, but his mind was already turning, because he knew Hensley was not done, knew that video was just the spark, and this mob was the fire, and it was only going to burn hotter from here. He wiped his cheek, the cut stinging, and muttered, "You're going to regret this." A vow to himself, to the night. Because Marcus Tate did not run, he fought. And this fight was just getting started. Before we continue, take a second and share your thoughts so far on this story below. I read every single one. Marcus raced east, blood crusting on his cheek from the brick attack on that rickety bridge. The jagged glass embedded in the passenger seat glinted under the dashboard lights like a grim trophy of the mob's assault. His navy tie hung loose, shredded at the end where it caught on the guardrail during his escape, and his white shirt was a mess of red stains, but his hazel eyes stayed sharp, scanning the road through the spider-webbed windshield. He spotted the faint glow of El Paso's city limits just 10 miles ahead, a chance to stop, breathe, get help. So he eased off the gas, dropping to 60, and veered toward a precinct he knew from joint operations with local PD, a squat brick building off the interstate that had handled cartel busts alongside his Houston team over the past 3 years. The sedan limped into the parking lot, tires crunching over loose gravel, the dented hood rattling as he killed the engine. He was a mess, bloodied and bruised, but he was the damned FBI director. And he was not about to let Hensley's goons chase him into hiding like some fugitive from that doctored footage. He stepped out, wincing as his dress shoes hit the pavement, the night air stinging the fresh cut on his cheek. He adjusted his jacket, torn at the shoulder but still carrying the weight of his badge in the inner pocket. A cold steel lifeline he had clung to for 20 years. The precinct's neon sign buzzed overhead, casting a sickly green glow across the lot. Marcus strode toward the glass doors, his jaw set, his mind racing with a plan. Report the stop, the mob, the video, get federal eyes on Hensley before this spiraled further. But as he pushed inside, the desk sergeant, a wiry white man with a gray mustache, barely looked up from his coffee, muttering, "State your business." Marcus pulled out his FBI ID, the gold shield glinting under the fluorescent lights, and slammed it on the counter. "Marcus Tate, Houston FBI Director. I was illegally detained by one of your officers, Victor Hensley, then attacked by a mob. He sicked on me. I need to file a report and get your watch commander, now." The sergeant glanced at the badge, then at Marcus, his bloody shirt, his torn suit, and nodded slow. "All right, Fed, sit tight." He gestured to an interview room down the hall. Marcus followed, stepping into a cramped box of peeling paint and a metal table bolted to the floor. The door clicked shut behind him. He sank into a chair, the cold steel biting through his jacket, and for a moment he let himself hope, let himself believe these cops would see the badge, hear the truth, and back him up like the law demanded. 2 officers entered 10 minutes later, both white, both in crisp Navy uniforms. Officer Lyle Grayson, tall and lean with a scar across his knuckles, and Officer Tom Burke, shorter, stockier, with a buzz cut and a smirk that did not reach his eyes. "Heard you had a rough night, Mr. Tate," Grayson said. "We'll look into it." Burke jotted notes on a clipboard, his pen scratching loud in the silence. Marcus laid it out. Hensley's stop, the cuffs, the chopper rescue, the video, the bridge ambush. His voice stayed steady, facts crisp, expecting action. But Grayson's eyes narrowed, and Burke's smirk widened. Before Marcus could finish, the door locked with a heavy thunk, Grayson spinning the key with a chuckle. "Hensley's our brother," he said. "You're nothing here." Marcus's stomach dropped. Burke stepped closer and spit in his face, the wet glob hitting his cheek with a sting. "FBI don't mean nothing to us. You think you can roll in and cry wolf?" The saliva dripped, mixing with the blood already there. Marcus wiped it off, slow, deliberate, his mind screaming, betrayal. These were not cops. They were Hensley's pack, and he had walked right into their den. Grayson pulled out his phone, dialing with a grin. "Vic, you'll love this. He's here." Within an hour, the door swung open again. Hensley strutted in, his sunburned neck redder than ever, his nightstick twirling like a toy. He did not hesitate, did not speak, just swung the baton hard, cracking it across Marcus's jaw with a sickening crunch that snapped his head back. Pain exploded white-hot through his skull as he slumped against the chair, blood pooling in his mouth, metallic and sharp. Hensley leaned in, breath hot and sour. "You thought you'd snitch? Thought your fancy badge would save you?" He swung again, the stick slamming into Marcus's ribs with a dull thud that stole his breath. Marcus gasped, vision blurring, but his training kicked in, keeping him conscious, keeping him alive, because he knew this beating was just Hensley's warm-up. A taste of the hell he had planned. The room spun, the fluorescent buzz deafened, and Marcus clenched his fists, blood dripping onto the table. He was down, not out, and Hensley was about to learn that the hard way. Marcus Tate slumped against the cold metal chair in the El Paso precinct's interview room, the taste of blood thick in his mouth as it dripped from his split lip. pooling on the scratched table in front of him. His jaw throbbed where Officer Victor Hensley's baton had cracked it minutes ago, a white-hot pain that pulsed with every shallow breath. His ribs ached from the second blow, a dull bruise blooming beneath his torn white shirt. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows across the peeling beige walls, the air stale and heavy. Hensley stood over him, wiry frame coiled with menace, his sunburned neck flushed red as he twirled the nightstick. "You thought you'd snitch, huh? Thought you'd run to your Fed buddies?" Officers Grayson and Burke leaned against the locked door, Grayson's scarred knuckles flexing, Burke's smirk widening as he wiped spit from his chin, the same spit he had hawked in Marcus's face before Hensley strutted in. Marcus's 6'2" frame was hunched, his navy tie dangling in tatters, but his hazel eyes burned through the haze of pain. 20 years in the FBI had taught him to stay sharp when the odds were stacked, and right now they were a tower ready to topple. His right wrist, still raw from the cuffs hours ago on Highway 80, brushed the chair's armrest, and he felt it, a loose pin in the cuff dangling from his left hand, a sliver of steel bent just enough to work with. He had noticed it when Hensley slammed him down, a sloppy mistake from a sloppy cop. Now it was his lifeline. Hensley paced, ranting about teaching you your place, his boots scuffing the linoleum while Grayson chuckled and Burke scrolled his phone. Distracted, Marcus shifted, slow, deliberate, sliding the pin free with his thumb, his fingers steady despite the blood slicking them. He slipped it into the cuff's lock, feeling the mechanism give with a faint click. He masked with a cough, the sound harsh and wet as blood spattered his chin. Hensley did not notice, too busy swinging the baton in mock arcs. But Marcus's mind raced. 3 against 1. No gun, no backup, the door locked. But he had surprise, and that was enough. He waited, biding his time, until Hensley turned to laugh with Grayson. Then Marcus moved. Fast as a coiled spring, he lunged up, slamming his elbow into Hensley's throat. A guttural choke cut off the cop's sneer as the baton clattered to the floor. Burke lunged, but Marcus grabbed the chair and swung it hard, the metal frame cracking against Burke's skull with a sickening thud, dropping him limp to the ground. Grayson was on him next, fists flying, but Marcus ducked, years of training kicking in, and drove his knee into Grayson's gut, doubling him over. He snatched the keys from Grayson's belt, bolted for the door, and jammed the key in, twisting it open as Hensley wheezed, clawing for his radio. "Stop him, damn it!" Marcus burst into the hall, the precinct a blur of beige and buzzing lights. His dress shoes slipped on the tile as he sprinted past the desk sergeant, too slow to react, coffee spilling as he yelled, "Hey!" He hit the parking lot, the night air hitting his lungs like a furnace. He spotted a patrol car idling 20 feet away, keys still in it from a rookie's smoke break. He dove in, slammed the door, and floored it, the cruiser peeling out with a screech of tires, gravel spraying as he tore onto the interstate, heart hammering, blood dripping onto the seat. He was free, the precinct shrank in the rear view. He grabbed the radio, switching to a secure FBI channel, voice hoarse but firm. "Hayes, it's Tate. Precinct's dirty. Hensley's crew beat me. I'm out heading east. Send a team." Hayes crackled back. "Copy. 60 miles out. Stay low." Marcus exhaled, thinking he was clear. The cruiser hit 80 as he raced toward Houston, 50 miles away. But then the scanner flared to life, a statewide alert blaring. "All units be advised. FBI Director Marcus Tate wanted for assaulting officers. Armed and dangerous. Last seen fleeing El Paso precinct in stolen vehicle." Followed by a flood of chatter. "Suspect attacked 3 cops. Critical condition." Marcus's gut twisted. He had not killed anyone. Burke was out cold, not dead. But the lie was already spreading. And he caught a glimpse of his reflection in the side mirror, bloodied, wild, a perfect match for the fugitive they had painted him as. Sirens wailed in the distance, closing fast. And Hensley's voice cut through the scanner, sharp and smug. "He's a dead man now. Find him, finish him." A taunt that chilled Marcus's blood. Because this was not just a beating anymore. It was a frame-up. A death sentence broadcast to every badge in Texas. Turning his escape into a noose he could not slip, Marcus floored the cruiser, hitting 100 miles per hour, the burner phone dead in his hand. He was too far, too late. His family, Lena and Jamal, waiting at home in their quiet suburb off the Gulf Freeway. Oblivious to the storm Hensley had unleashed. 50 miles away in Houston, Lena Tate stood in their 2-story colonial, her bare feet cold on the hardwood floor. Her brown eyes went wide as headlights flooded the driveway. 3 SUVs screeching to a halt, their doors flying open as a SWAT team in black vests spilled out, rifles raised. She froze, heart slamming, as the front door exploded inward, wood splintering under a battering ram. 6 officers stormed in, shouting, "Houston PD, hands up!" She was shoved to the floor, knees cracking against the oak, a gloved hand pinning her down. "What's happening? This is my house!" Upstairs, her 12-year-old son Jamal screamed, "Mom!" She twisted, seeing him dragged down in pajamas, skinny arms flailing as an officer cuffed him, his comics scattered like confetti. "He's 12!" she screamed. "Let him go!" But Sergeant Ed Voss, the lead cop, ignored her, barking orders as his team tore through the house. Ripping cushions, smashing frames, overturning drawers, Voss knelt beside her, smirking. "Your husband's a drug runner. FBI's a front. Where's he hiding the stash?" Lena spat back. "That's a lie. He's the director, you idiot." But Voss just laughed, cold and hollow, and pulled a plastic bag from his vest. A pound of cocaine, pristine and planted, tossing it onto the coffee table with a thud. "Found it. Looks like you're in on it too." She stared, horror sinking in, as cameras flashed and evidence was logged. Upstairs, Jamal sobbed, "Dad didn't do this." But the cuffs stayed tight, and Voss radioed in, "Suspect's family detained, narcotics secured, tell Hensley it's done." Before we go deeper, I would love to hear your point of view. Tell me what part hit you the hardest in the story, and share your thoughts in the comments. 50 miles out, Marcus heard it all on the scanner. A news report breaking through. Breaking, Houston FBI Director Marcus Tate's home raided. Wife and son arrested in drug bust, tied to his assault on El Paso officers. Followed by Hensley's voice on a live feed, fake tears thick. "He's a disgrace to the badge. My heart breaks for this city." Marcus slammed the wheel, rage boiling over, blood dripping onto his lap as the broadcast cut to a reporter outside his house. Lena's face blurred but unmistakable as she was hauled into a van, Jamal beside her. He screeched to a stop at a gas station payphone, a rusted relic 30 feet off the interstate, and stumbled out, quarters jangling as he dialed Hayes. "They hit my family," his voice roared. "Planted drugs. Hensley's behind it. I need you now." Hayes snapped back. "Team's en route. Hold on." But Marcus knew holding on was not enough. His escape was a hollow victory. His family was the price. And Hensley had turned his badge into a weapon sharper than any nightstick. Within hours, Marcus was cleaned up at a safe house, rallying his team with a voice that cut through exhaustion. His 20 years of tactics flooded in. By dawn, they had warrants, recordings from his earpiece, and a sting set for Hensley's precinct. The chopper lifted off at 3 a.m., blades slicing the night as Marcus strapped into a vest, his ribs screaming, but his focus razor sharp. They hit the precinct at dawn, the sky a bruised purple, agents storming in with flashbangs popping, smoke curling as Marcus limped through the chaos. Glock drawn, eyes locked on Hensley's office. He kicked the door in, catching Hensley mid-rant. On a phone, "Tell Voss to bury the wife's case." Marcus leveled the gun. "You're done, Victor." Hensley froze, sunburned neck paling but managed to smirk. "You're a dead man walking." Agents cuffed him, and Rollins, who was cowering in the corner. Live feeds from local news vans captured it all, choppers buzzing overhead. The arrest broadcast statewide as Marcus stood bruised but unbowed, the precinct's corrupt heart ripped out in front of 1 million viewers. Cheers erupted from the agents as Hensley was hauled out, his badge stripped, Rollins stammering apologies. Marcus exhaled, thinking it was over, that Lena and Jamal would be freed, that he had clawed back justice from 12 hours of hell sparked by that Highway 80 stop. He stepped outside, the sun just cresting the horizon, warming his bloodied face. His team slapped his back. Hayes nodded. "We've got him, 10 years minimum." And for a moment Marcus believed it. Let the weight lift, the nightmare fade. But then a crack split the air, a sniper's bullet grazing his shoulder, tearing through his vest with a searing burn that dropped him to his knees. Blood pooled fast as agents scattered, shouting, "Shooter! Rooftop!" He clutched the wound, vision swimming, and something fluttered down, a note landing in the dust beside him, scrawled in black ink. "You're next, traitor!" His team returned fire, the sniper vanishing as sirens wailed. But Marcus stared at the paper, Hensley's grin flashing in his mind, the cop, cuffed 20 feet away in a squad car, smirking through the window, mouthing, "This ain't over." And Marcus realized this was not Hensley's end game. It was a signal, a thread to something bigger, someone pulling strings he had not cut yet. The wounded gunman wheezed, blood flecking his lips. Mayor Warren wanted you silenced, reforms threatening his cash." Then he slumped, breath fading, Hayes cursed. Clyde? Warren, El Paso's kingpin. Marcus nodded, pieces clicking. Warren, 58, silver-haired, a 3-term mayor with a mansion overlooking the city. A man who had shaken Marcus's hand at galas, all smiles and lies, running drugs, bribes, and cops like Hensley to keep reformers buried. 90 minutes later, Marcus was cleaned up, blood washed off, a fresh shirt stretched tight over his bruised frame, rolling solo into El Paso in a borrowed SUV, a wire clipped to his collar. Warren's mansion sat on a bluff, a sprawling stucco fortress with wrought-iron gates guarded by 2 suits packing concealed 9mm. Marcus flashed his FBI badge, voice cold. Official business. They waved him through, underestimating the bloodied man with a limp. Inside, the air was cool at 70 degrees, marble floors gleaming under chandeliers. Warren greeted him in a study, a broad man in a tailored suit, grey hair slicked back, sipping bourbon from a crystal glass. Marcus, rough week, I heard. His smile was tight, mocking. Shame about Hensley. Marcus sat the wire, humming. Spare me. I know you hired those gunmen, framed my family, ran Hensley like a dog. Talk. Warren chuckled, swirling his drink, unfazed. He leaned back, voice smooth. You're a problem, Tate. FBI sniffing my deals, pushing reforms, cartels pay me millions to keep El Paso open, cops in line. Hensley was cheap, Voss cheaper. He leaned forward, eyes glinting. But you, too clean, too loud. Marcus clenched his fists, ribs aching, as Warren bragged. 10 years I've owned this state. Judges, sheriffs, feds. Your raid? A hiccup? I'll bury you, your wife, your kid, like I've buried a dozen before. Every word recorded. A confession that would crack this empire wide open. Marcus stood, whispering into the wire. That's enough. FBI's got you. Warren's smile faded, replaced by a cold stare. He snapped his fingers. The study doors burst. Open, 10 militia in black fatigue storming in, AR-15s blazing, bullets shredded the oak desk as Marcus dove, rolling behind a bookshelf, glass shattering around him. His Glock was out, 2 shots dropping 1 gunman, blood pooling on the marble. Warren bolted through a side door, shouting, Kill him! 9 left. Their rounds chewed the walls, splinters flying as Marcus scrambled, ribs screaming, shoulder bleeding fresh through the bandage. He fired again, 1 bullet grazing a gunman's leg, the other pinging off a chandelier. They flanked him, boots thumping. He was pinned. The wire crackled as Hayes yelled, Hold on, 10 minutes out! But 10 minutes was a lifetime when barrels gleamed 3 feet away. Marcus thought, Warren's words are on tape, but this ambush flips it. Hensley's jail cell is a sideshow. Warren's the prize. And now Marcus was cornered, bleeding. 1 round left, the mansion a kill box he might not walk out of, glass shards from the shattered chandelier crunched under his dress shoes as he shifted. 9 gunmen fanned out, 2 flanking left, 3 right, 4 straight ahead. Warren's shout echoed from the hall. Kill him! Marcus's mind raced, 20 years of FBI training boiling down to this. He spotted a bourbon bottle on the floor. Warren's crystal glass, cracked but full, and grabbed it, hurling it left with a flick of his wrist. It smashed against a wall, liquor splashing, and 2 gunmen spun, firing at the noise. A split-second distraction he seized. He lunged right, his last bullet punching through a gunman's throat. Blood sprayed as the man dropped, rifle clattering. Marcus snatched it, 15 rounds in the mag, rolling as bullets chewed the bookshelf, splinters stinging his cheek. He opened fire, short bursts, 2 more dropped, bodies crumpling to the marble with wet thuds. 6 left. They pivoted, closing fast. But he was moving, diving behind a leather sofa, its stuffing exploding as rounds tore through. He popped up, 3 shots, 3 hits, chest, head, chest, 3 down, 3 standing. Their shouts turned to curses as he flanked them, using the room's pillars. A 4th fell to a double tap, blood pooling under the chandelier wreckage. The last 2 charged. 1 swung a knife as Marcus's rifle clicked empty. He ducked, slamming the stock into the man's jaw, bone cracking, as he spun, grabbing the knife mid-fall and plunging it into the second gunman's gut. A gurgling choke. The man collapsed. The study was silent, but for the drip of blood and the distant thrum of chopper blades. Marcus staggered, ribs screaming, shoulder a firestorm. He grabbed a spare mag from a corpse, reloaded, and limped after Warren, kicking through the side door into a garage where the mayor was scrambling for a black Escalade, keys jangling. Marcus fired a warning shot. The tire popped. Warren froze, hands up, silver hair wild. You're done? Tate, my men? Your men are dead. Marcus cut him off, dragging him back as Hayes's chopper landed outside, agents storming in, cuffs snapping on Warren's wrists. Live feeds caught it all, news vans swarming the gates 40 yards off, broadcasting Warren's fall statewide, his empire of drugs, bribes, and corrupt cops crumbling in real time. as Marcus stood bloodied but unbroken. The wire's tape was a sledgehammer to El Paso's rot. Deputies hauled Hensley's puppet master to a convoy, his tailored suit rumpled, his rage shattered. Marcus leaned on Hayes' shoulder, his wound pulsing. "Get Lena and Jamal out, now," Hayes nodded. "Charges dropped. They're free. Voss's crew's folding." A victory carved from 12 hours of hell since that Highway 80's stop. Hensley's 10 years just a footnote to Warren's collapse. Dust settled, sirens wailed. And Marcus limped to the convoy, the sun dipping below the bluff. He had won. The war was over. Justice clawed back from a system that tried to bury him, his family, his name. But as agents loaded Warren, a figure stepped from an SUV. Lena, her braid frayed, her brown eyes hollow. Jamal beside her, clutching a backpack, his 12-year-old face streaked with tears. Marcus stumbled forward, relief flooding, until Lena held up a hand, stopping him 10 feet off. Her voice flat. "We're done, Marcus." She handed him an envelope. Divorce papers, crisp despite the chaos. "You saved the world, not us. I can't live like this. Jamal can't." He stared, the papers trembling in his blood-stained fingers. His mind went blank as she turned, Jamal glancing back, eyes wet but hard. Before they walked away, their silhouettes shrinking against the convoy's lights. Think about Marcus Tate right now. He has toppled giants, exposed corruption at the highest levels, saved countless lives his reforms will protect. But he watches his wife and son walk away, the very people he swore to protect, and realizes the cost of his fight. If you had to choose between justice and your family, what would you do? I want to hear your honest answer in the comments. Marcus stood frozen, his Glock slipping from his hand to the sand, the weight of it all crashing down. Hensley was jailed, Warren was finished, the cartel cash lines were severed. But his family was gone, the cost of a fight he did not start but could not stop. Sirens faded, agents shouted orders, and he was alone, victorious but hollow. The desert swallowed the last of the day as Lena's car vanished down the bluff. He had toppled giants, rewritten justice, but lost the one thing he swore to protect. A twist sharper than any sniper's aim. Marcus Tate's journey through 12 brutal hours, from a racist traffic stop on Highway 80 to toppling Mayor Clyde Warren's corrupt empire, teaches us profound truths. Justice is not a gift. It is a fight. Racism is not just slurs or batons. It is a system woven into badges, courts, and mobs, ready to crush anyone who dares challenge it. Marcus, a black FBI director, faced it head-on. Hensley's cuffs, a smeared video, a mob's brick, planted drugs on his family, each blow worse than the last, each victory undone by a deeper betrayal. Proving that prejudice does not die quietly, it claws back with every tool at its disposal. His resilience shines through, picking locks, rallying agents, recording Warren's confession, showing that strength and cunning can defy even the most rigged odds. But at a cost. The twist of Lena's divorce papers reveals a brutal truth. Fighting for the greater good can hollow out the personal, leaving scars no badge can heal. Corruption, too, is not one man. It is a network, from Hensley's fists to Warren's millions, thriving on silence until someone like Marcus rips it open. Yet his win, jailing Hensley, exposing Warren, sparks hope. One voice, relentlessly loud, can crack a rotten foundation. The lesson: justice demands sacrifice. But it is worth it, if it wakes a system that slept too long on the backs of the oppressed. So what do you think? Did Marcus pay too high a price for justice? Or was it the only way to break the cycle? I want to thank each and every one of you for sticking with us through this incredible journey. Your support means everything to Celebrity Chronicles. If this story fired you up, hit that like button. If Marcus Tate's fight for justice moved you, drop a comment and share your thoughts. I read every single one. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Celebrity Chronicles so you never miss another powerful story like this one. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, because stories like Marcus Tate's remind us that one person standing tall against injustice can change everything. We're grateful for every one of you here. Stay strong, keep fighting the good fight, and we'll see you in the next one.